And I realized at the point when I finally started getting myself back together, got out of the depression, the questioning, and just said, you got to accept this is where you're at, you got to fight to get through this. And I started going to the law library, reading law books, because I'm going to fight the system. I better know something about it. You better be educated about something that you run up against that's pretty darn strong. Fortunately for me, just after being on death row for 3 years, the prosecutor made a bad mistake. And when the Arizona Supreme Court, whenever you get convicted and sentenced to death, it goes right to the Supreme Court of that state, the highest court in that state. And they review all the procedural errors, all the legal errors, not the evidence, just whether or not the rules were followed. And the prosecutor introduced a videotape made by their bite mark expert the day before trial was to start. He asked the judge to allow this into evidence. And as a defendant in our country, you have a right to know, when you're accused of something, you have a right to know what evidence they're going to use against you. You have a right to receive that evidence in a timely manner so you can prepare your defense. They're not allowed to hide it from you, and they're not supposed to surprise you at the last moment with it. And so when the Arizona Supreme Court seen what had happened, they said the judge was wrong, the prosecutor should have turned this over sooner, and they ordered a new trial. And my second trial started in February of 1996. It lasted 6.5 weeks, as compared to my first trial of 3.5 days. 6.5 weeks this trial lasted. Over 500 exhibits were introduced, 500 different pieces of evidence. Over 30 people testified as experts, just as experts alone, not as other witnesses, but just expert witnesses, scientific backgrounds. My folks came out from Pennsylvania, sat through that trial with me, and my attorney did a great job. We pulled out all the evidence. The truth was coming out. I was feeling confident now about a system that I was a little leery of, lately because of what happened, but I always had believed in. But you know what? As I said, this is about winning. That bite mark that I'm supposed to have made was on the victim's breast. They had actually taken a swab from that. A Q-tip swab was taken from that area when they first found the body. We found out that there was DNA on that swab. We got it tested. The DNA from that bite mark did not match me. No way, no how was that DNA on that swab, on that bite mark. No way was that my DNA. But that prosecutor stood before the jury. He told that jury, he said, that DNA is easy to explain. Easy to explain, he said. She's a waitress. She handles glass and bottles all day long. That was just transferred there by accident off of somebody else's glass. The jury was out for 3.5 days. Came back and found me guilty again. Damn. But as bad as it hurt hearing that verdict, it was way worse to hear this horrible scream, this moan, this yell from my mom and sister sitting 5 feet behind me. And I think, whoa, back up, rewind, let's start this over. This did not happen. Because I still believed in the system. I still believed in the truth. I still believed in reasonable doubt. And here I was, found guilty again. I was serving a minimum of 46 years before I ever would have a chance of parole. I was 35 when this happened. You had 41 to that. It was a death sentence. I wasn't going to live to be 81 in prison. I might not have got executed. I might not have got laid on a gurney with a lethal cocktail shot into my veins in the name of the good people of the state of Arizona. I was going to be legally executed, but you can certainly die in prison. Prison's very, very segregated, very racist, very violent. I've been stabbed a number of times, been through my share of stuff to survive those 10 years, but I was certainly going to die in prison one way or another, natural causes or because some other inmate or officer. And so I'm spending my time now in a maximum security prison, and I'm seeing people be released because of DNA in the newspaper and on the news, and I'm kind of thinking mixed emotions. I think, wow, that could be me one day because I'm innocent too. And on the other hand, I think, well, wait a minute, a lot of good DNA did me. And one day in 2001, the Arizona State Legislature passed a new law. DNA was becoming more and more prominent, more and more aware. It was more and more reliable. And they passed a new law making it easy for inmates. It made it easy for people that are convicted of a crime to come back and have DNA testing done on materials if there was DNA available. And we petitioned the judge to do this. We asked the judge to grant this because, fortunately for me, the Phoenix Police Department, when she was stabbed, her clothes was cut off and thrown in the corner of the bathroom. They had kept her clothes, but they never looked at it. We were able to get in and see the clothes and could see that there was evidence. There was some type of biological evidence. There was some type of stains on her pants, inside of her pants, on her underwear. And the judge ordered the Phoenix Police Department to do the testing. Of course, after what I've been through, the last people in the world I wanted to touch anything was the Phoenix Police Department. But that turned out to be a blessing, the final piece of luck, really, that I needed. Because when the lab technician in the police department extracted DNA from the pants and extracted DNA from the underwear and compared it to the victim, it wasn't her, and compared it to me, and it wasn't me, this lab technician, on his own, decided to take that DNA sample and put it into a data bank. They'd been storing DNA from all around the U.S. of different convicted people. And so when that DNA went in that data bank, it came back with a match. Came back with a match to a man at the very moment was serving a 10-year sentence for having sexually assaulted a child just 3 weeks after the murder. That man was identified through this DNA. And finally, I got a call. About 3 months later, I got a call from my attorney who said, "Ray, how you doing today?" I said, "Fine, just another day in paradise." He said, "Well, what are you hungry for?" I said, "What do you mean? I'll eat whatever's in the chow." He said, "No, really, what do you want? Steak, Mexican food, cerveza? What would you like?" I said, "Alan, what the devil are you talking about?" He said, "I just got off the phone with the prosecutor's office. They just got back from the judge's chambers. They're cutting the paperwork. You're going home today." 4 hours later, folks, I walked out of that prison after 10 years, 3 months, and 8 days. Just as fast as it took for them to put me in there, me and my family and the system finally let me go. And I realized that those 10 years were about something that they can do to me, they can do to anybody. And something can take your freedom and your justice from you, your life from you, and something you need to know about. Learn about the justice system, learn about your rights, learn about your future. And some of those days when life gets a little tough and you wonder why me, why did this happen to me, I want you to remember our stories. Trust me, it could be worse. But find strength sometimes to persevere and see through some of those tough times, because there may be a good reason later on. There may be something you're going to need to do, something, that lesson that you're going to learn then is going to help you in the future. Good luck. There's challenges out there, but I think you can live up to it. Thank you.